Hi, my name is David Pollard. I'm the Executive Director of Workplace Pride Foundation. Welcome to the 2018 edition of the Global Benchmark. This is the 5th year that we have done the Global Benchmark, and we've introduced a couple of small changes to make it easier and more efficient for you to fill out the benchmark submission. In order to explain that, I'd like to introduce our Relationship Manager for our members, Skylar Leslie.
Hi, I'm Skylar and I'm here to help you with the tutorial for the 2018 Global Benchmark. Now the information in this tutorial is based on a lot of the feedback that we've received from our members in order to make it easier to fill out. Today we're going to talk about what evidence is, how to best collect evidence for your submission, and a couple other extra tips to help you on your way. Now you're always welcome to contact us with whatever questions you have, but we hope that this is a good tool to help you on your way to filling out the 2018 Global Benchmark. So welcome to the Global Benchmark 2018 instructional tutorial. To start off with, let's just discuss what we're going to be discussing today. First, an introduction to the Global Benchmark of 2018. Some changes from the 2017 benchmark based on feedback from the individualized meetings that we've had. Examples of evidence for the 2018 submissions. And just as a reminder, the Global Benchmark for 2018 is already open, and in order to access it and participate, please send an email to benchmark@workplacepride.org. At that point, you'll receive a personalized link in one mail and also a personalized password in another mail so that you can all sort of work on that together. So, for the Global Benchmark of 2018, what's the same? Well, most of the questions are the same. How to gather evidence is going to be the same across the board, and we're going to go through that in a minute. What's more important to you right now really is what's new. So we've changed a few of the questions just to make them sort of easier to understand and also to just fit better with sort of where we're going with this benchmark. We've also added a few questions because, as you know, we try to push the bar every year and make it a little bit more difficult so it doesn't just stay the same. We're also asking for quite a bit more evidence, and we're also going to be a bit more stringent in that, so that's why we're doing this tutorial in part, so that we can sort of explain what evidence is, how best to gather it, and how we can help you help us help you. So what does that mean for you? Well, basically it means we're going to do this tutorial, and any questions you have, you can just reach out to us immediately, and we'll get on that. So, feedback from the 2017 benchmark. We've been going around and talking to our different members who participated in the 2017 benchmark, trying to get feedback and figure out, what can we help on and what is necessary. And the central question that we received is what kind of evidence is required? What does this evidence mean? Because some of the questions ask you to provide evidence, but it was not really clear what counted and what the best way to do that was. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. What do the questions actually mean? Well, because of that, we've edited some of the questions to try and improve clarity, but obviously, should you ever have a question about the meaning of a question, please let us know. We're also going to talk about challenges of filling in the benchmark and some practical tips to sort of help you along, especially if you're new to the benchmark and you're not really sure how to start this. We really want to help you with that and sort of get you on your way. And finally, we're going to talk a little bit about getting additional help. So tip number 1 is show, don't just tell. And this relates to evidence for the 2018 benchmark in that the more evidence you can sort of give to us, the less you have to explain in text. And when you show us more evidence, it's easier for us to say, yes, you have done this in the year 2017, check mark in the box. So we're going to start with how to collect evidence. Well, what is evidence? Evidence can be official documents, it can be Twitter pictures, it can be event invitations and other things, and we're going to go through this in a minute. Where can you find evidence? Well, in internal and external communications, from HR, from publications, from news items. And how do you collect evidence? Well, you can do that through screenshots, through short PDFs, and other things. So here on the right, I've got a little example. So let's say that I wanted to do the Global Benchmark 2018, and the question is, what did you participate in 2017? I could go to the Workplace Pride website, take a screenshot of the workshop that I did last year at Elsevier, and say, you know what, this is what I did, here's an example, here's the evidence given for it. Now, obviously, this is both a things to do and things not to do example. Things to do is take screenshots of things and show us that very clearly, but don't cut things off. Make sure that you can see everything and all the context. This has just been cropped to fit in the presentation itself, but obviously when you send us your evidence, make sure that it's absolutely everything. So here we've got some example evidence. And evidence can really be everything. It can be images of campaigns like Skittles. It can be social media posts like you see here with Royal Dutch Airlines. You can also take screenshots of your policies. For example, here we have the Greater Manchester LGBT Action Plan Executive Summary. So really you can just screenshot the relevant points for the question itself, and that makes it easier for us to see and also easier for you in the long run, because then you can take a look at your evidence, say, oh yeah, there's a screenshot of that. Now, it can also be event headers. So for example, here you see Pride and Prejudice. It's got the day and where it is, and it's clear who's hosting it. We've also got a screenshot here of a news article that also describes, for example, events for LGBT History Month, and it's got the date and the author as well and all the relevant information. And finally, we have more Twitter, and we also have a screenshot of, for example, dress code policy, benefits policies, and offerings. And the important thing here is that it's very clear. For example, here in diversity and inclusion initiatives, it says, make certain that transgender workers are included in the organization's affinity groups. So it's very clear in terms of who, transgender workers. It's very clear what it relates to, diversity and inclusion initiatives, and it's also very short and clean cut. So how do we do this? What you can do is use screenshot applications. Apparently on a lot of PCs you can use something called print screen, but that doesn't work for me. So what I use instead is an application called Snip, which you can find on Google, but you can also find other things that work better for you. I know on Mac there's a shortcut which is Shift-Command-4. So when you go Shift-Command-4, you end up with a little crosshair, and then you just drag it along the portion that you want to screenshot, and generally screenshots will go directly to your desktop. Now you can always use an application if that's more comfortable for you, or if you find different shortcuts, that will also work. Then we're going to talk about splitting PDFs to share relevant data. And the reason this is important is that if you send us a 300-page PDF and we're not sure where to find the information that is relevant, it's going to take us quite a bit of time. And if we miss something, then we're going to have to come back to you. So the easiest way to do this is either through Adobe Acrobat, or on Google you can use something called Split PDF or something similar, where you upload your PDF, you select which relevant pages you want to have, then it runs, and generally it will basically spit out the pages that you want to use. Now finally, you can save web pages as PDFs, generally by going saveas.pdf. And if that doesn't work, you can go print, change destination, save as PDF. So all of those things should work in order to sort of gather evidence from the technical side and also make it easier for us to see what you mean. So tip number 2 is contact us for further explanation of questions. So when there's question confusion, it can be sort of bothersome to find that you've submitted evidence and you've explained as best you can, but that's not really what the question was asking, or you just weren't sure, so you wrote a lot. And in order to avoid all of that extra work and any kind of doubt, please just ask us if you want further explanation of anything. That's exactly what we're here for, so don't worry about that. So we're going to talk a little bit about issues of clarity, because being specific and giving context are important. I touched on this a little bit beforehand when I was talking about evidence and how you have to make sure that you show all the context, otherwise we're not sure what's going on there. So specificity and context are important. Now, this sort of follows in terms of questions about bisexuality or transgender issues specifically need to be addressed on those issues. So when something asks you about bisexuality, your answer has to apply only to bisexuality in the sense of not generally speaking. So if you're unclear on anything, please just let us know and we can sort of go over that together. So tip number 3 is keep evidence in a folder for next year, 2019. And this is also part of the answer to challenges section. Now, the reason we say this is that there are quite a few things that stay the same year after year. Certain policies and practices don't necessarily change. So if you keep things in a folder for the next benchmark, then the only thing you have to do is update, for example, activities from the year before, or anything that actually has changed, but you've already got a very good base of things that stay the same. So that should make filling out the benchmark the year after a lot easier. Let's talk about reducing labor intensity or making your own life easy. Well, the first thing that we suggest is collecting evidence throughout the year. The reason why this will help you is that instead of sort of doing a mad dash in the 2 months that our benchmark is open, if you slowly but surely collect things that will be or even might be relevant, the only thing you have to do is collect the last things that you don't have evidence on and just sort of filter through the things you've collected throughout the year. So that should make everything a little bit more relaxed in terms of gathering evidence. The second tip is be clear about who is involved in filling out the benchmark. Now, generally, people know this when there's 1 or 2 people who are assigned to this task, but when you're working in a group, it's really important to make sure that you know who is doing the actual filling it out when you're ready to submit, who is responsible for gathering evidence, and sort of all the different responsibilities in a group and in a team, and the time frame that you want to do that in. Now, we also suggest that you check in with LGBT group leaders, HR, D&I managers, and other relevant people because gathering information on your own can be quite difficult. And sort of checking in with these different people means that you get a lot more people who might know something in terms of where to find evidence on something or what the answer is to the different questions. And that can really help just sort of to spread out and discuss it with a lot of people. Also, creating a team folder so that more than one person can add evidence is also a very good tip, mostly because if only one person is collecting everything, the onus sort of falls on them to make sure that they have everything. So if you have a team folder that multiple people can access, people can just put things in, and that sort of comes back to collecting evidence throughout the year as well, is that if you have a centralized area to put evidence sort of over time by multiple people, it ends up being less work for one person by themselves. And finally, collecting all evidence before starting the submission. So this is a bit more of a technical thing in that you can upload your answers into SurveyMonkey without completely finishing the survey, but you send us your evidence. So really, the easiest thing to do is collect all your evidence, make sure you know what you want to say, and then just sort of dump it all in there when you're absolutely sure that you've got everything. So tip 4 is more attached evidence means less essay writing. And basically what this means is that you have to explain less in writing if you attach more evidence. So if you say, yeah, we did a whole bunch of things in 2017 in relation to LGBTI policies and practices, see attached, and you've got 8 attachments of different events that you did throughout the year, we can clearly say, well, you've got the evidence for it, you've clearly done something, and you have to do less writing in general. So organizing evidence, let's talk about what the best way is to do this because people tend to do this in different ways. So the first option is the PDF method, and basically what happens is you collect all your evidence and you go question 14 part A, paste evidence, question 14 part B, paste evidence, and when you've finished pasting that all into a document, you save it as a PDF and you send it to us. Now that's one option. Another option, especially if you're working with the team folder and people are submitting it or are putting information in throughout the year, is doing the folder per sub-question method. So basically you end up with a folder which is question 14, and in that folder you have part A, part B, part C, and then everyone knows exactly where the evidence for each individual question is supposed to be, and you put it in there, and that's just sort of easier for everybody to be able to see and to understand, what goes where. Now, you can also send us physical copies to Lijnbaansgracht 298. But basically when working with multiple people, the easiest way that I see how to do this would be the folder per sub-question method, just because it's much clearer that way. So let's talk a little bit about additional feedback and help. So additional feedback and help can come through online, but also through personalized meetings, depending on what you prefer. So, for further help and contact information, feel free to contact me at skylar@workplacepride.org for questions regarding the benchmark. Some important dates to keep in mind. The opening of the global benchmark for 2018 was February 15th, so it's already open. The closing, however, is April 13th, 2018, so I'd suggest you put that in your calendars and don't forget. Preliminary results will be given to you approximately 1 month after your submission, so the earlier you submit to us, the earlier we can give you your preliminary results. And finally, the final results are set to be shown at the 2018 Leadership Awards Gala, which right now will be in either October or November. And just a little tip to help you on your way, also check out the survey guidelines for additional information. Just a quick reminder again, in order to register, send an email to benchmark@workplacepride.org. You'll receive 2 emails, one with your personalized link and one with the personalized passwords that you can get started. Thank you so much for participating in the Global Benchmark and for helping to make the lives of LGBTI people in the workplace better.